I was originally going to treat this video as a standard review, but the more I wrote, the more I decided to analyze the plot over the game itself. So, massive spoiler warning ahead. Now, this was actually the very first video game that I've played this decade. Good choice, really. I had always been sort of aware of what remains of Edith Finch, mostly in name only. But all I had heard was that it was more or less just a walking simulator. Now, personally, I wouldn't say that's fair, and on top of that, the only game that I've played which I can definitively say was a walking simulator was Dear Esther. And I liked that game, really. But What Remains of Edith Finch was special. Why? Well, let me break it down. So, in this game, you take on the role of the title character Edith Finch. I know, I can't believe it either. Edith returns to her childhood home after her mother died and goes on a trip down memory lane. Now, like most kids, Edith grew up in a house that was built vertically to add more rooms as more family members were born. And of course, this house had the usual ritual of enshrining the rooms of deceased family members, then having your mother seal the rooms shut, only for your great-grandmother to install peepholes so you could still look inside. Well, there may be a bit more going on than that. You see, the Finches largely believed that their family had been cursed. The details aren't entirely clear, but every member of the family seems to have died under tragic, bizarre, and sometimes mysterious circumstances. So in this journey, you'll go room to room and relive your family's final moments as you take a trip down memory lane. And that's it, really. Now, I remember describing this game to a friend of mine, and he had asked me if it was a horror game. Fair question, really, but I wouldn't say so. As you go through these rooms, you'll get a very clear picture of each family member, even with some memories only lasting a couple of minutes, ranging from a father's final hunting trip told through photographs, to a graphic novel-styled horror story, and even a stream of consciousness detailing one member's mental decline. But what was amazing to me was seeing the philosophies of each individual member. Some family members were completely accepting of their curse and decided to live their life to the fullest regardless. Others were overly cautious and attempted to avoid danger at all costs. Then, tragically, some members never had a chance to begin with. By all rights, What Remains of Edith Finch should be a horror game. But for me, it's incredibly uplifting. It's hard to explain, but I'll try. So, between these stories, Edith often brings up her mother, Dawn, and her great-grandmother, Edie. I am sure them sharing a name is significant, I'm just not sure how. Now, Dawn was of the mindset that she should ignore the curse. In fact, she was the one who sealed up the rooms. In fact, she even blames her grandmother for the death of her own children minus Edith. Her position is either that there is no curse, and exposing her family to these stories creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, or that she actually does believe and hopes that by burying the past, she can save what remains of her family. Almost a title drop there. Now, Edie, on the other hand, embraced the curse. She would tell anyone who would listen about her family lineage, the curse, and even the details of how her relatives died. On top of this, she enshrined each room and painted each family member's portrait as a memorial. Some portraits which were completed before the member was even dead. Heck, she even drilled peepholes into the rooms once Dawn sealed them up. What these two characters failed to understand is that, curse or not, their biggest flaws were not letting go of their past. Despite Dawn's refusal to acknowledge her history, she named her cat after her deceased great-aunt, and would have named Edith after her deceased brother had Edith been a boy. But I think Edith has the best attitude out of all of them. As she experiences these stories, she runs the gambit of emotions. In fact, she even discovers family secrets hidden right under her nose, and begins questioning the logic of her entire family. However, despite what could be interpreted as horrors, she leaves the player, and someone else, with these final words. "I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us had a chance to be here at all." You can't outrun your past, but you can accept it. And this optimism and acceptance leaves the player with a powerful sense of hope, even under horrifying circumstances. What Remains of Edith Finch is truly a video game that I felt on a deep level, and I'm extremely glad that I was able to enjoy this wonderful experience. So I may have more or less given away the plot of the entire game in this video, but honestly, even knowing the details going in doesn't take away from the experience. Heck, I had this game spoiled through and through, and was still in tears by the end. So if you're interested in a truly wonderful video game experience, and don't have a problem with walking simulators, I guess, then I would recommend What Remains of Edith Finch. From the first game I've played this year to the last review. I thank you for spending this time with me, folks. I'll see you in my year-end video.